So the Bucks did just get blasted by the Warriors, but you know what? Before that, they had been on a pretty decent run of form. It seems like Doc is finally starting to figure things out a little bit. You know, maybe they win the championship this year, maybe they don't. But today we're looking back on the 2021 NBA Finals, a series that Giannis straight up dominated. Before we start talking about Giannis in the 2021 NBA Finals, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. So before we start, we gotta give a little background. Giannis has one of, I think, the most interesting stories for like a superstar level player in NBA history. He came into the league as like an 18-year-old rookie who was a complete unknown from Greece, and by the time 2018 rolled around, was pretty much an MVP level player.
Just insane. Like, no one saw it coming. Like, who would have thought he would have gone from that skinny ass dude to just being bulky as fuck as he is these days?
A tank.
Right.
Like a 6'11" tank. The 2018-19 season, though, after the Bucks hired Mike Budenholzer, this was their year they finally broke through. They had been a decent team for the couple years prior, but this year they won 60 games. Giannis won his first MVP. They advanced all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost only one game on their way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Mind you, that one game was game 1 against Boston in round 2, after which Paul Pierce said that the series was over.
No, listen, I think it's over.
This series is over.
Yeah, they
One
lost.
game?
One of the funniest clips of all time.
Another famous Paul Pierce take that's just absolutely nailed, right?
You'd think, like,
dude's just full of them.
An NBA legend, one of the better scorers in NBA history would know ball better, but
But he doesn't.
he just does not.
In the conference finals, despite going up 2-0 against Toronto, the Bucks lost 4 straight to the Raptors. Giannis struggled a ton in this series. The size and the length of the Raptors down low especially really bothered him. Next year, Bucks again had the best record in the Eastern Conference. Giannis won his second straight MVP. He also picked up a Defensive Player of the Year award. This was the fluky-ass bubble year, though. And in the bubble, the Bucks were dispatched in round 2 by the Miami Heat in a fucking shocker.
Yeah, I want to give him a bit of a pass, mainly for the Raptors series. That was one of the best defensive teams of all time. And Eric Bledsoe was one of his co-stars during this period, so he was straight shit. The playoffs Eric Bledsoe was. And again, like the Heat, that's a tough matchup. I mean, I know it really hurt Giannis's reputation at the time, but if you look at the context, these are some tough matchups.
Still, though, against the Heat, I mean, he only really played well in one game, and that was game 4. He scored 19 points in about 11 minutes, but then he went out with an ankle injury. Didn't play the rest of game 4. The Bucks actually won that game without him. Didn't play in game 5. The Bucks, they go down to Miami in 5 games. And that offseason, the whole Giannis is leaving Milwaukee talk was at its height. I mean, rumors were swirling about him going to Miami, to Toronto, to Golden State, to New York. But Giannis, you know what? Gained a lot of respect from that offseason because he was like, fuck it, I'm staying here in Milwaukee. He signed a 5-year, $228 million extension. Might have had a little bit to do with it that the Bucks traded for Drew Holiday.
Little bit.
But gained a whole bunch of respect for him for staying in Milwaukee, coming from a fellow small market fan, like staying with your small market team and trying to make it work.
Well, yeah, because like you said, bringing in Drew Holiday had to help. Like, he actually had another all-star level player with them there. In 2021, the Bucks had a solid season. They won 46 games, but it kind of flew under the radar. They kind of felt like this team's good in the regular season, but come playoff time, you just crowd Giannis and they can't really do anything about it. They swept Miami in the first round in a pretty dominant performance. I actually thought maybe they would lose this series. Game 1 went to overtime, but the Bucks ended up winning it. In the games 2 through 4, you win by 34, 29, and 17. Had to be cathartic for the Bucks, especially after the shocking loss to the Heat the previous year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then in round 2, you're matched up with the big 3 Brooklyn Nets, and in my opinion, this is why the Bucks flew under the radar the entire season. Like, all the talk the entire year was about this Brooklyn Nets team. There was that infamous picture before the season starts where it was like, can we just skip to the NBA Finals? It was the Brooklyn Nets and then the Lakers on the other side with Russ, LeBron, and AD. Oh boy. That's That's why they play the games, folks. They split the first 4 games of the series 2-2, but throughout this series, the injury bug was biting Brooklyn on the ass.
I mean, we've talked about it so many times. You had the James Harden hamstring injury from hell.
Yep.
You had Kyrie spraining his ankle in game 4, and it always is sad, like, without those injuries, they probably win the series, and I hate to take away from the Bucks, and really it sucks that people say it, but to be honest, it's probably true.
It is probably true, but also, like, injuries happen to,
it happens.
It happens to everyone. I mean, even still, without those guys, the fucking Nets gave them a hell of a series, thanks mostly to Kevin Durant. I mean, dude and baby played the best series of all time?
Maybe.
At
least in a losing series.
Absolutely. Game 5 went off for 49 points, 17 boards, and 10 assists in like a 1-point win? Like a 1 or 2 point win?
Game 6, he didn't really do much. This was the Bucks. They tied up the series. 38 points from Chris Middleton. I remember, kind of gets lost these days with Chris Middleton being older and the injuries he's gone through, but Chris Middleton in the 2021 playoffs had just some crazy-ass games.
Game 7, though, man. One of the best NBA playoff games of recent memory. KD again went for 48. Giannis went for 40. And it's been said so many times by so many different people, us included, that if not for KD's big-ass toe, then, you know what, maybe NBA history is completely different. But you know what? KD does have big-ass feet. His foot was on the line. Game went to overtime, and the Nets, they ran out of gas in overtime. Bucks prevailed, and honestly, one of the bigger upsets, I think, in recent NBA playoff history.
Yeah, it's weird because the Bucks weren't like a no-name team. They were a solid team, obviously, but everyone just thought like, oh, this Nets team is winning the championship.
Yeah.
Next round, they face off against the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks were coming off their own upset against the Philadelphia 76ers because who could forget Ben Simmons refused to shoot? And the Hawks stole game 1. This was the Trae Young playoffs leading up to this game and after this game. 48 points and 11 assists. I remember he had just some deep-ass threes, and I loved this Hawks team. I just fell in love with their playoff run. I really thought they had a chance to go to the finals after this game 1.
Yeah, well, they got the shit out of him in game 2.
Yeah.
They lost by 34. Game 3, though, the Bucks trailed by 2 heading into the fourth quarter in Atlanta before just a insane fourth quarter by Chris Middleton. You said it before, people forget how good Chris Middleton was back in 2021. He outscored the Hawks by himself, 20-17, and Milwaukee turned a 2-point deficit into an 11-point win in game 3 on the road.
The Hawks would even the series in game 4, though, and to add insult to injury, Giannis would hyperextend his knee and miss the next 2 games, but even without Giannis, the Bucks prevailed. They rallied in game 5 and won. They won game 6 on the road to advance to their first NBA Finals since 1974.
Also, a little fun fact, Game 6 was Marv Albert's last game on commentary.
Good for him.
Just a little fun fact there.
A little legend going out.
On to the 2021 NBA Finals. They were matched up against the Phoenix Suns, who were making their first playoff appearance since 2010. They got all the way to the finals.
Damn.
The Suns were slight favorites going into this series, but I think overall everyone really just expected a close series that could go either way. Game 1 in Phoenix, Bucks kept it close throughout the first half. They only trailed by 7 points at halftime. Suns pulled away in the third quarter, though. They built the lead as high as 20. Chris Paul finished with 32 points and 9 assists. Devin Booker poured in 27. DeAndre Ayton had 22 points and 19 boards. Giannis was kind of bad. I mean, he had 20 points and 17 rebounds, but he only took 11 shots. Chris Middleton gave you 29, but a 13-point loss in game 1. Not a good start.
What's funny is I was watching like the Undisputed episode for the next day after this game, and Skip Bayless referred to that Ayton, Booker, Chris Paul 3 as literally a big 3 or like their big 3. In hindsight, that seems insane, but the stats they put up that game, I kind of see it.
Yeah, at the time.
Game 2, the Bucks got off to a pretty good start. They led by as much as 9 in the first quarter. Then the Suns outscored the Bucks 30-16 in the second quarter, took a double-digit lead going to halftime. The Suns led wire to wire for the rest of the game. The Bucks got no closer than 6. Giannis, he balled the hell out, dropped 42 points, had 12 rebounds, 68% shooting. But basically, besides Planet Pat, everyone else on the Bucks was
Yeah, if Planet Pat is your second leading scorer at 14 a game,
you're not going to win a finals
Love
game.
Planet Pat dearly, but you're not winning a lot of games like that. Suns, meanwhile, they had a balanced attack from all over. 31 from Booker, 27 from Bridges, 23 from Chris Paul. Suns win game 2. They go up 2-0. And after game 2, this is where the narrative really started to change in favor of Phoenix. Obviously, they were up 2-0. Teams that go up 2-0 don't often lose the finals. And the Suns, they were now like the overwhelming favorites. I remember a lot of people were asking like, oh, is the series even going back to Phoenix? And the questions about Giannis, can he be the guy for a championship team? They were out in full force after game 2.
Yeah, people were ready to cement Chris Paul as like a championship, and I was like, oh, what does this ring do to Chris Paul's legacy? So,
I was ready to do that.
Yeah, it kind of felt like this series was over.
I was one of the biggest proponents of Chris Paul should have won MVP.
I remember that
year.
I disagree.
I still think he should have won regular season MVP. I was all over that. I was like, oh, he's finally going to get his ring. I don't know why I felt like this, because Chris Paul's an asshole. So I don't know why I was like...
Everyone did, though.
I guess everyone was kind of just like, oh, it's his time. Finally, it's time. Now, him. I don't know why I felt like that. Game 3 back in Milwaukee. Obviously a must-win for the Bucks. First quarter was back and forth. The Suns led by 3 after the end of the first quarter. DeAndre Ayton got off to a really good start. 12 points on 6 of 7 shooting. And the Bucks blasted them in the second quarter. They outscored the Suns 35-17, took a 15-point lead going into halftime. Giannis had 18 at the half. The Suns, they managed to cut the lead down a little bit in the third, got it down to 4. Bucks followed that up with a 24-6 run, gave them a 22-point lead heading into the fourth. They would never look back. They won the game by 20. Giannis, 41 points, 13 boards, 6 assists, 14-23 shooting. That's how you get back in a series.
Yeah, one thing Giannis does not get enough credit for is just some ridiculous stat lines he puts up. Like, we see the LeBron stat lines, you see the Steph stat lines on Twitter, the Jokic ones. Giannis, when he gets his points, gets his boards, some of these stat lines are crazy.
And you know he's playing good defense on the other side,
always. Too. Game 4, the Suns got off to a great start. They led 12-4 early. Bucks battled back. It was tied 52-52 going to the half. Giannis, he was solid in game 4, but this was really the Booker and Middleton duel. Booker had 18 points in the third quarter alone, 42 for the game. And again, Middleton with another crazy game. He had 40 of his own. The Suns took a 7-point lead going in the fourth, so it was looking like maybe they're going up 3-1, but then Middleton said, nah, let me take over. 14 points in the fourth to lead the Bucks back. And the most iconic play from this game, and maybe the series as a whole, was that block he had on Ayton. Booker and Ayton ran a little pick and roll. Book threw an alley-oop to Ayton, and Giannis was out of position. He was like facing the wrong way, turned around somehow and managed to block Ayton's dunk attempt, keeping the Bucks up 2. I remember I was watching this game at work on my break on my phone, and my jaw dropped. I just didn't see that as a possibility for the play that he was going to be able to block.
I remember watching it on my couch, and I jumped off my couch. I was like, holy how'd he do that?
What?
I mean, he is facing the wrong way. He sees the ball go up, he spins around, he jumps up, and he blocks a dunk of a pretty athletic 7-footer.
Yeah.
Crazy. The Suns, actually, people forget because of how iconic that play was, but the Suns had another chance to tie the game with 30 seconds left, but Chris Paul slipped. He lost control of the ball. Bucks iced the game at the line. They win 2 in a row. Now the series is tied 2-2. And this is, again, the narrative, how quickly it flips.
Turntables.
Because now everyone is questioning the Phoenix Suns, specifically Monty Williams' defensive strategy against Giannis. Miami and Toronto had seen a lot of success in years past against Giannis with that strategy of, building the wall. Multiple defenders, keep that high line. If you ever played Domination on Nuketown in Black Ops 1, It's what you do. You build the high line across the middle of the map. That's what they were doing to Giannis. And for some reason, Monty Williams, for the most part, had opted to just single cover Giannis with DeAndre Ayton. And look, we love DeAndre Ayton, but bless his heart, he was not prepared to do that.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. So now we're back in Phoenix. Pivotal game, game 5. Winner takes control of the series. And the Phoenix Suns started out burning hot. They shot 70% from the field in the first quarter, 5 of 6 from 3. They outscored the Bucks 37-21. So it looks like they're gonna run away with this game. But second quarter, like we keep saying, the series going, momentum swings.
Pendulum swung right back.
Bucks said, it's our turn to shoot 70% from the field. They went 6 of 9 from 3, and they outscored Phoenix 43-24 in the quarter.
Yeah, the second half, the Bucks, they started to build a little bit of a lead. They actually led by 14 points with less than 9 minutes to play. Booker and Chris Paul, though, they led the Suns back. They combined for 21 points in the fourth. The ending of this game, though, is insane. Under 30 seconds left to play. Suns are down 1. Devin Booker's driving to the basket. Giannis cuts him off, and as Book tries to spin back towards the middle of the key, he's stripped by Jrue Holiday. On the ensuing fast break, Holiday throws that alley-oop up to Giannis, who throws it down with a foul, and that cold ass stare into the camera afterwards. That was badass as
Yeah, that play's amazing. Drew Holiday, he gets a ton of credit, deservingly so, because I don't know if any other player in the NBA could have made that play.
It's a ballsy play,
yeah,
too.
It's ballsy as hell.
Fast break up by 1. I'm pretty sure the shot clock was off, too. And you throw up an alley-oop. I get it's Giannis, but the fact that he threw that alley-oop and didn't just dribble the ball out,
and the strip on Book right before,
yeah.
Amazing. Giannis would actually miss the free throw, though, but he tipped the ball out to Chris Middleton, who would ice the game from the line, and Milwaukee wins 3 games in a row in the series now, and now they're leading 3-2 with a chance to end the series back home.
So game 6 back in Milwaukee, obviously the do or die game for the Phoenix Suns. I love this little fun fact. Milwaukee had 65,000 fans watching the game in the Deer District, right outside their stadium. I was looking back at the footage from this and I was like, is there any way the Blazers could ever do something like this? And I'm just thinking about the outside of the Moda Center. I was like, there's no room.
Yeah, we don't have the room.
We don't have the room at all to do that.
But I'm jealous as because, well, being in the arena obviously is better. Worst case scenario, you're out there
partying with 65,000 of your closest friends.
It looked lit as hell out there for them.
First half of this game, though, was basically an inverse of the first half of game 5. The Bucks this time, they got off to a really hot start. They led by 13 after the first quarter. Suns responded by outscoring the Bucks 31-13 in the second, and they took a 5-point lead into halftime.
Giannis, though, masterclass in the second half. He scored 33 points just in the second half alone. No other Bucks scored more than 10. He shot 10 of 15 from the field, 12 of 13 from the free throw line. A guy who was known for having a bit of a shaky free throw shot.
No, a guy who was known for being bad at free throw shooting.
Okay, I was trying to be nice. Just missed a big free throw in the previous game. Was clutch as hell in a closeout game in the NBA Finals.
I love that Giannis hit 10 field goals in the second half. No other Bucks scored more than 10.
Yeah, he just took over.
The Bucks, they built a solid lead throughout the second half, and really they just snuffed out every attempt at a Suns comeback. Chris Middleton helped seal the victory with some clutch jump shots and free throws. The Bucks, they win their first NBA championship in 50 years, and Giannis, it's gotta be said, he played one of, if not the greatest closeout games in NBA Finals history. I mean, it's up there with Magic's Game 6 at Philadelphia in 1980, Jordan's Game 6 against the Jazz in 98, LeBron's Game 7 against the Spurs in 2013. Giannis finished with 50 points on 16 of 25 shooting, 17 of 19 from the free throw line, 14 boards, and 5 blocks. Couple things to keep in mind. He was only shooting 59% from the free throw line in the finals up until game 6. He shoots 17 of 19 in this game. He scored almost half of his team's points, and just looking at him, he was doing everything for the Bucks. He hit threes, he hit mid-range shots, he scored at the rim, he got rebounds, he played defense, he hit his free throws. And of course, at the end, there's that iconic shot of him on the sideline, just on the verge of tears after winning the title.
Yeah, he already does not get enough credit for this series. I mean, this was less than 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
No one talks about
it. And it just doesn't get brought up for some reason. I mean, the stat line for the series, 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, nearly 2 blocks on basically 62% shooting, playing great defense. Can you do better in the finals?
Not really.
No, in a 50-point closeout game, who does that? Basically, no one has.
You think it's the best closeout game in NBA Finals history?
I think so.
I think it is too.
I know Jordan had the shot, you had the LeBron, he had the shot and everything, but 50 points in a closeout game, that's the most ever. I have to give it to him.
That's the video, guys. How will you remember Giannis's performance in the 2021 NBA Finals? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.